I'd like to call this meeting to order if everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Laura, just when you can you note board members and administrators present?
Mike's not on. Can't hear you.
Oh, I just wasn't close enough. Sorry. There's two changes. Okay, board, you have an agenda in front of you. There's a couple of changes to be made. Under business items for discussion, letter E needs to be moved down to business items for decision. That's the transportation contract. Okay, and then under, under reports is going to be B, is going to be staffing. And then bond update will be C, and school resource officer D. Are there any other changes to be made? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Or motion to approve the agenda, all in favor? Sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended. I'll support.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. And then we have the consent agenda. Oh, there it is, sorry. Oh, goodness. Okay. No, it's policy. Okay. The consent agenda, approval of meeting minutes from the regular board meeting July 17th, 2023, in committee of the whole meeting August 7th, 2023, approval of accounts payable in the amount of $2,387,950.54 for the month of July 2023, and the approval of the treasurer's report dated July 31st, 2023, with a balance of $15,211,328.11. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. I'll support.
Any discussion? Laura, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Overgard?
Yes.
Shute?
Yes.
Oberstein?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Yes.
Horsey?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Yeah. No. don't have the reports page.
It's on the back.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. I'm struggling tonight, sorry. Next up under reports is community input on agenda items only. Can you check? Oh. Thanks, Sean. Okay, and just a reminder, when you get up to speak, you do have 3 minutes. Just state your name and relationship to the district, and we'll set a timer for the 3 minutes. And first up is Corey Hinga.
Okay, my name's Corey Hinga. My wife Jennifer and I made the choice for the last 7 years to enroll our children in GA schools, via school of choice. Being an educator myself and having had Jennifer teach in this district, I think I have a pretty unique perspective about what happens in schools. So in the last 7 years, and even before that, I'd be honest, I pushed her to seek out other employment, to leave the district. She always stayed loyal to GA. She stayed solely because of the kids she was able to impact, the amazing families in this community, and because of the teachers that our own children have been blessed to have, who poured so much of themselves into the classrooms and students. 2011, she came back after a year-long layoff when she had other opportunities elsewhere for more money. She stayed in GA in 2012 when a former superintendent forced her to pay back money for days missed due to a home fire when originally he was told those would be excused for the emergency. She stayed in GA through multiple years in a row with 0 steps given to teachers and 0 raises, even though all their districts received something. She stayed in GA when she was forced to move from middle school to high school years ago because it would save the job of another teacher. She stayed in GA while countless others, teachers and friends, left the district for more pay and better benefits elsewhere. This year, she was again being forced to move back to the high school against her will. So instead of moving instead of putting a teacher back in a position from a district created position last week, the district decided to move multiple teachers. But really the problem is who's hurt by this? The students were hurt by this. What about students that count on certain teachers because one individual's made a connection with one teacher? Last year, there was a boy in the middle school who would literally run to my wife's classroom when he was having a bad day, even though she wasn't one of his teachers. She would always hold him accountable, follow his plan, and was able to comfort him. Who takes that role on this year now that she's resigned? There's a pile of clothes in our house and shoes for a student that she was planning on giving to one of her former students because nothing else donated to the school will fit him because of his size. Who takes on that role this year? Yes, it is only 1 or 2 students, but with all the teachers leaving, it's multiple students just like this. Again, who's hurt? The GA students. Because of all the situations going on with my family and my wife, I began looking at things. I found that in one of the middle school grade levels, there's a math teacher not certified to teach math, a science teacher not certified to teach science, a social studies teacher that just last week was moved from 2nd grade, and no dedicated language arts teacher, even though literacy is the focus in the district. As a parent and an educator myself, it's unacceptable. But again, who's hurt by this? Again, the GA students. There's countless other questions that need to be asked and answered, and here's a few more. Why do we have such a hard time in the district finding teachers to take these jobs? Why can't we retain quality staff? Why have so many teachers left the last few years? Why are veteran teachers, some spending their entire careers here in GA, suddenly leaving all at once? By my informal count, I was over 30 the last time I counted of staff that have left in the last 2 to 3 years, including the entire central office staff. As many of you probably know, we pulled our children from this district. The only reason they remained here as school of choice students was because my wife was loyal to this district, and we've had a small handful of amazing teachers that have given everything they have to GA. My wife chose to walk away, not for another job, but I think that says a lot. And I'm going to end it with one final thought. There's one common thread these last 5 years impacting this district and driving good people away and forcing the district into bad spots. I've reached a point where I truly question the motives of the district and its leader, and I question the direction it's headed. How long will GA and this board continue to allow one person to drive away everyone? We have a new addition to the aging primary school, a recently renovated middle school, and shiny new sports complex. But are we going to have anyone to fill those spots now?
Beth Fosnett.
And I'm just going to give a reminder. We do the 3 minutes to be fair to everybody. We don't want to give one person more time than another. Sorry.
My name is Beth Fawcett. I live here in Galesburg. I grew up in Galesburg. My 4 children attend here. So some of my questions were similar to Mr. Hinga's, which were in the last couple of years, how come so many staff have retired or left altogether? Who does the exit interviews for these staff, and why are they leaving? Because there's no one talking about why all of our good long-term teachers are leaving. These aren't staff who are just like, it's been a year, I got somewhere else to be. This is staff that my kids have had for years, and we were looking forward to continue having them. And my children are highly disappointed that their favorites, Mr. Kornick, Mr. Verduzco, Mr. Bauman, apparently is a favorite in the high school. The Washburns, where are they going? Why are they leaving? What are their reasons? And nobody knows, and nobody talks about it. But I think that's information that is helpful, not just for us as parents, but for the school district, because what do we need to change to keep our long-term staff? It's not fair to the kids to keep bringing in unknown faces. We don't know if they're good teachers. We don't know what their capabilities are when our people who should be are not. They're leaving. Let's see, did I have any other questions? Oh, a couple of the things on here was, what is a coordinator of behavioral analysis of intervention? And also, why does the primary school need a dean of students? I thought that was very odd. I've heard of it in high schools, and a curriculum director? We're not Kalamazoo. We're not a huge school district. I just wondered if these positions are like unnecessary, and could we spend the money elsewhere keeping teachers or having things that the kids need? And maybe I don't know what these positions are, and maybe I don't know if they're important, but if they aren't, why do we have positions that just have a lot of big words and nobody knows what they mean or what they do? And I believe, for now, that's all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Next up is Jan Yingling. Hope I said that correctly.
Yeah. Anyways, I have had foster kids, grandkids, a lot of troubled kids have gone to Galesburg schools. And I have always bragged about what good care and everything that they've done for my kids. And my kids need the extra attention, and like everybody else, I want to know why. Like I said, all these teachers have helped my kids so much that they're leaving, and I just want to know why too. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Next up, Eric Curtis.
I won't need it, but I'll try. Eric Curtis, GAEA. So this is the start of my 24th year. I sat at a table this morning for our breakfast with 6 other people. We all looked around and we didn't know half of the people that were at our meeting this morning. That's how bad it is. And as board members, I certainly hope that there are huge alarm bells and red lights flashing everywhere when we have had 12 employees, teachers this year, that ranged anywhere from 7 years to 22 years of teaching that have left our district. Why? If you're not asking why, you need to start asking why. And it's not just about the pay, because I talked to 2 of them that have taught here for a really long time, and both of their comments to me were, Eric, I need to get out of here. I don't even care if I have to take a pay cut. So if you think everything's great and we're this big Ram fam, that is not what's going on here. There may be a few people that feel like they're in a Ram fam. Most of us do not feel that way. It's not a family atmosphere. It's not a family atmosphere when you're forcing people to move a week before school starts without any communication. I could go down the list here if you really want me to for all the people that resign. and probably why they left. I certainly hope you're doing exit interviews to figure out why they're leaving, especially the people that have been here 15, 20 years. People just don't leave after 15, 20 years. It doesn't happen. I don't care how bad a teacher shortage is. If you're here for 15 or 20 years, there's a reason why you're still here. There's a reason why I'm still here after 23 years. And you know what? I'm thinking about leaving now, too. Because what's going to keep me here to stay? Why am I going to stay? My department's gone. We're the lowest paid in the county. And we're not respected as a staff. We're just not. And that's the hard reality. And you guys need to start asking what's going on and why are staff leaving? Because if you think it's stopping now, it's going to continue to happen next summer too. Maybe before. You need to figure out what needs to be fixed.
Thank you, Eric. Next up is Amanda Ellis.
Okay, 3 minutes isn't a long time, so I'm going to talk fast. So a couple years, I joined the bond. Our bond slogan was, our kids, our community, our responsibility. What are we doing to provide for our kids? All my life, I dreamt about working with kids. Recently started that journey. Today, we learned about establishing relationships. Some of these kids, their lifeline are these teachers that they build relationships with. And these are the teachers that we are losing. Today, when suicide rates are at an all-time high, and it's on our back steps, some of these kids only have that one teacher that they feel comfortable with. When you take that lifeline away, who do they have? And I'm trying really hard to compose myself. At the end of the day, what are we here for? What are our jobs? Our job is to make sure that our kids in the community are brought up, that they're raised, that they are doing right, and they're the future. They're our tomorrow. When we drive out all of these teachers that have been here for years, what is that saying about us? What is that saying about our retention? Clearly there's an issue. What are we doing to resolve it? Are the exit interviews being done? Who is conducting the exit interviews? That's what I want to know. Bringing in all these fresh teachers, I get it. I'm not saying that they're bad teachers. But when you take these bonds that these kids have built over 15 years, 20 years, and we're driving those teachers away, for what reason? Why are these teachers leaving, and what can we do to retain them? We don't have a hiring problem. We have a retention problem. Corporate America. We have a retention problem. What do we got to do to make these teachers feel valued and respected? Building those relationships. Again, suicide. Some of us, it's all too real. When you get rid of that lifeline and you bring in these new teachers, who are these kids going to feel comfortable going to? Now they have nobody. So these teachers that are veteraned into this community, into this district, that have given years of their time, what is making them leave and go to different districts? I'm going to just put it out there. I hear a lot of things through the grapevine. A lot of things stem to the superintendent. When is the superintendent up for re-election? That's what I would like to know. How do you vote on getting a superintendent out? That's what I would like to know. That's the hard questions. As a mother of 3 kids in this district, their future, I'm their advocate when they can't be. A lot of them are too young to speak. A lot of them don't know what's happening. They just see a friendly face and a smile when they walk in the door. They don't see the struggle that these teachers are going through. They don't see the struggle that us parents are going through, worrying if the educators are going to be there for them in their best interests.
Perfect time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Could I make a motion to recess for a quick break?
Support?
Yeah.
I'll support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? And it's what's the time? 6:50?
Just recess.
Thank you.
Did you support?
Of course you did.
You did. Okay.
I'll tell you, my allergies are hindering. So Will's trying to tell me.
Do you take that much?
I do injections too. She's another thing I do as well. They're super special right now. Happy belated birthday in person.
Oh, yes. And Jessica's was yesterday.
Oh, Jessica's too. That's right. Yeah.
So many. There's a lot of ones.
And Little Ben was the day before, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Oh, this is tomorrow. He was nearby. Oh, there goes the bee. I see that baby. I know his little toes are out. Little toes, little fingers. Little tum tum. Yeah, cute. I know it. He knows he's The baby is back out here. Do you see the cute baby? This baby no longer buff. She's not doing very good. Check out himself there. Some little. You did. Well, technically you did 5. You did. And technically you probably didn't need to wait because people came out. So they could have 5 minutes. I walked out there. You walked out. Yeah, she's got Rocket. Rocket. Ball. Yeah. Rocket. Like, where's the Rocket? Yeah, Rocket is this just. She can't breathe. I thought. I couldn't go. There's not.
Oh, he's here. He's been over. Not today.
No, obviously. So we can discuss that. Like, is that at the end of the meeting? It's a good idea. I'm like, no, the people are out there want to raise hands. She said 5. I'm on all the things. Steroids. I just got some with steroids. It's my allergies. I'm horrible. Oh yeah. No, I'm not sick. Well, I feel sick, but no, I just got done. This has been like 3 weeks for me. I just got done steroids for my ear.
My son thinks he's sick because it's been 2 weeks. But he has horrible allergies, so I wonder if they're just really
They're
bad.
horrible right now. And that heaviness outside makes it worse. Are we there?
Okay, can we have a vote to come back into regular meeting or a motion?
I'll make a motion back into regular session.
Thank you, everyone.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. So next up under reports is B, staffing.
All right, so I'm going to have my lead administrators come on up. We've been involved with all the discussion, so that means Lindsay Newton, just the building ones, it's okay, Miss Smelter. Amy and Sean. Sorry, I should not call him Sean Scheinberger. It's a habit. We've been talking a lot about primary school today.
The rest of us will start going in that now.
I know, sorry.
Where are you wanting us to go?
I don't know, how about, are there enough chairs you can sit around the table? Like,
We sure
Actually,
oh, yeah.
there's two back here, so if we just have one.
I'm sure we could. They got it. Oh, they got it.
Line them up. Sorry.
So you guys
Where did it come from?
what a good team.
Thank you.
Okay. You got the documents too, right, that we put together?
Yep.
Good. So, as I shared in my board update, we wanted to give you some information tonight on process. As far as when someone chooses to leave the district, we're talking professional staff this evening. The word teachers brought up, and I think those have been the biggest concerns, so that's what we're going to discuss. And then also the question, folks are asking the question, staff have asked administrators the question, why everybody's leaving. So that's kind of what our topic is. So we do this as an administrative team. Very few decisions that I make without consensus of the group, and so we wanted to go through that together so that they can also add input. Okay, so you have in front of you the list of professional staff resignations. Professional staff are those who are certified for classroom or counseling position, school site, so those are certified staff. Yeah, that's what when we say professional, that's what it means, as compared to support staff. So as you can see, we had 6 teachers resign. And then we had a half-time teacher who we had to ask to go back into the classroom last year because of a shortage in that area. And then we had one administrator leave, and then a couple special ed pieces. So I'm just making sure you're on the right page. I'm on the first. Yeah, sorry, I'm on this one if I didn't put it in the order. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. And I know that we've talked about the, sorry?
It's 7 full-time teachers.
7, what did I say? 6. Oh, sorry, 7.5, yep, 7.5, so 7, yep. And so we have talked about the fact that, at this table also about the teacher shortage, and it does have more in effect than this year, even more so. Okay, so so you have a document in front of you that lists all of the whys. Yep. But I also want to share the fact that all of these people have had a conversation. Some of them have had conversations with the principal as the first point of contact. And then some of them have also had conversations with me. So as far as a process at the staff level, it is the principal's job to know what's happening and why. And some of these conversations actually happened last spring. And so some of them we knew were looking for like an administrative position. They've been applying for a couple of years to find that next great opportunity. So sometimes these conversations already happen. And what you're seeing is kind of an accumulative effect, because when one position changes, someone might want it and it becomes a domino. Okay? So let me just share first some of the reasons that we know. And if I've missed something, my team can jump in. We had a staff member want to stay home with babies. We had 2 of them want to get closer to their families. One in particular was driving a long ways and had a son over on closer to the lake shore. We had several looking for administrative opportunities, wanting to move up And also, as you know, we have tried to have a career person in the district who's helping us with college and career. And there's some big opportunities out there right now because we have a really big career tech center coming, so there were some opportunities there. So some of those things happen. We had a staff member leave because of an event or an incident related to athletics. And one of the other biggies is there is more pay. I know Mr. Curtis mentioned that, so I'll tell you that we have staff who have been able to leave and are making $20,000 more than they are here. We have districts paying every single step, as well as a bonus for coming in.
Can I
Why?
ask a question for that?
Sure.
So the staff that left and is making $20,000 more, is that like and like the first or second staff? Is that a young teacher, a new teacher?
It can be both. Yeah, it depends on the district. Yep. They all have different pay scales, but some are newer, not a first year, but if you're for example, a staff member who had 10 years can really jump up, right? At least 10 or 20,000, depending on the district that they're going to.
Okay, so in this case, it was somebody that had like 10 staffs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So for context, I know not everybody was in education 30 years ago. At that point, when a teacher would stay or come to a school district and try to leave, districts, had plenty of staff to pull from, and so they would, only offer a couple of years. Today, I know one district who is paying them, if they've been in 30 years, they're getting the 30th step, right, or whatever that top of theirs is. So, and I know that what's happening is that everybody is stealing from everybody. And I mean stealing in a gentle term, right? But that's what it feels
We can't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you for letting us know.
Hello.
Okay, sorry. So for example, right now there are 24 high school jobs in the county. And 17 elementary positions. And if you look on the biggest site where everything is, you can see from across the state, there are 14 pages worth of teacher shortages. So the reality is, we have never been in this situation in Michigan before. And the domino is, right, a district right next door had a math teacher position open last week. One of our staff chose to take it, right? I spent lots of time talking with him. And they fill their hole, and now we have a hole. And it's happening everywhere across the county. I know Portage still has quite a bit of vacancies, KPS, and so we're not unique at all. It just feels really, really tough. So let's talk about how that works. I'm going to defer a little bit. So Lindsay has an opening, right, because a teacher chose to go be closer to her son, and now we have an opening. Now it's a matter of saying, do we have someone in the district who would like that job or can move in that job? So the struggle that we've had as a team is teacher certification. Because if they don't have the certification, right, let's say someone in the high school doesn't have the certification. We look at the middle school. Why? Because their certification may be A12, maybe K8. And so we, when that doesn't happen, or when we do, we may have to shift somebody. So we had so again, there are sometimes voluntary moves. We had several people want to move voluntarily. And then we have had some moves that people weren't as comfortable with it. And those are the hardest for us to make. We always put kids first. And on your document, I just kind of gave you some talking points. So I'll go through those a little bit.
Before we do that, can I ask one question?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry.
Do we know, okay, so excuse me. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I can yell too, so. Do we know what our turnover rate looks like compared to the schools around us? Because I mean, you said that other schools are vying for each other's employees, so I'm just wondering if
This is the first year, Christy, that we've ever been in this situation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't had, I mean, I don't think any superintendent can tell me. I have, in the past, it's been maybe the first or second year I was here, I did share with the board the attrition rates. The high school's always had a high attrition rate. That was something that when I came on board, the board had asked us to look at. It was part of the last strategic plan. I think, well, we know at the middle school with the change in leadership, we also needed a middle school counselor. So as you know, there had to be a change up in that office. And several of them had already talked to us that, with that change happening, it was kind of an unknown. And Shana was very close to her staff. I think we've hired a great person, but again, some of those conversations were already happening with Shana, with myself, etc. So there's a little more turnover at the middle school than what we've ever had. Typically, we have very little at the primary school and middle school. But things have changed.
Can I give you a little perspective?
Yeah.
So, we use a different system to hire teachers. We used to use one that all whole county uses. Now there's 3 districts that are onto something else, and Kalamazoo Public's onto something else. So that leaves 4, I believe, in the county. Those 4 districts in the county, there are 24 high school vacancies still, and they start on Monday. 17 elementary school vacancies still, and that does not include 4 of the Kalamazoo County districts. So that the whole county is very, very short. We are short here very, very little, so I feel very fortunate going into Monday that we actually have almost a whole staff.
It was actually on the 6 o'clock news today. They were doing a story on the shortage across Kalamazoo County, Portage Central, I believe, maybe it was Portage Public, needed 50 positions to fill.
Yeah, those were just teaching positions.
Well, in that case, 20 were teaching positions, but Harbor Creek was on there. So I will say everybody across the county is definitely struggling with this, and it's on the news and out there for everybody to see.
Can I ask a question prior to going into? So we talked about the payments. Some places can offer bonuses. Can you remind me what we're allowed to do? So if we had someone applying that's been teaching for 20 years, how do they come in and where do they start at our tiers?
So it's a great question. Unlike some districts, we have an association that works with us to give them more than 10, right? If they, however, the reality is too, Diana, to give them more, we still don't match up pay-wise because we just don't have those financial resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
We have an association.
Oh, so that's called the teachers union, right? Used to be called union. We, use association today. So what that means is that there are steps that are that are agreed to, and even let's say that someone came in with 14 and we work together and we give 10. The reality is, right? We are not at the same level for year 10 as other districts. And it's not because we don't want to pay teachers. It's, as you know, financially this is a small district and it doesn't have the kind of resources that, say, Bill Lake does or Portage, KPS. And so that's why we were able to get money for turf. That's why we're bidding, right, for teachers.
Well, and there's other benefits in our district for teaching here besides pay too that the other districts do not have.
And I think that if you talk to our principals, they have doing a great job building climate and culture in their buildings. This just happens, in my opinion, is an anomaly. Okay, so did I miss anything with that? The principals, because I know you have been the ones hard at work on the ground level. Otherwise, okay. So we talked about the shortage, right? Never been like this in Michigan ever. There are hundreds and hundreds of jobs open in Michigan, and we can have a discussion about how that has happened over the last 10 years, but we can point to some very significant factors at the state level. So certification is a biggie. If you recall, too, we did some budget cuts in the spring, but we didn't have to lay anybody off. However, that means that as we maybe someone's changed or left, it does make it a little bit harder then to get those certifications in the right spot. We know that people have moved sometimes we have to move people for different subjects, right? So last year I taught 7th grade science. I may now also have to add 6th grade science. Or I may, because I'm certified in 6th grade social studies, I may be doing a combination. In small districts, that's never been any different than what it is today. We've always had to do that. Mostly at the secondary level, of course. We know that some folks left for leadership opportunities. I talked to those people last year, and I know Shana did. I know Lindsay Newton did as well. So sometimes we have internal shifts. For example, if we cut down from a 4 teacher grade level to a 3, we may have someone say, or we go up like 3 to 4, then people can put in for that, right? They can ask to do that. And some of that happened this year as well. The other biggie, as you know, we've talked about this a lot, is the data, right? We know that the children in the middle school right now, we're in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade when COVID hit, okay? And the building shut down, and then it was shut down for the next year as well. So we've shared with you the data, we've shared with you curriculum needs, and you have often asked, when are we going to put an intervention system at the middle school? Well, that was our goal, right? We had math interventionists, and our goal was to add a reading interventionist. Here's the data. The average number of students in the middle school, because of that COVID shutdown, they're only 44.75 are proficient. We got a lot of work to do so that when they get to the high school and their work is more rigorous, to put those kinds of things in place. And that was where we started last spring, as you know. And the same is true in math. We have a math interventionist. Our goal is to keep that person there. Out of all the students, 35% on average are benchmarked. And again, 4th graders, 5th graders were in 1st grade. So we have some gaps to fill. And so intervention has been a big reason why we've added staffing or wanted to be able to put more in place this coming year. Unfortunately, with the shifts, we're not going to be able to do that as well as we had hoped. So at the bottom, I've shared with you, they are we always say what's best for kids. Is this move what's going to be best for kids? But we also first have to talk about the certifications, whether they've taught the subject before, right? And also, are they a good fit for the age, right? There's a difference between teaching primary school, middle school, or high school, so we do talk about that. And then, of course, the interventions. And, of course, budget cuts left us a little more slim in terms of who could fit where. And, every building's different, but the middle school has a kind of a group with not as many flexible certifications, so that gets to be a little hard as well. And the reality is we may have to move somebody up from primary, we may have to move someone up from high school, or vice versa. It's not fun. And again, if you want to ask any questions about process to the principals, this is the opportunity as well. Anything to add from this team? Anything? I covered it all? Yes. And ask questions or comments or something. Yeah.
So I kind of have a statement, but kind of a question in there. So basically, we've lost, for sure, more staff than we have in the past. We've lost 7 teachers, multitude of different reasons. Some moving positions, some taking different opportunities, some leaving by their choice. So I think it's important to realize that, some of them were people that were going to leave or staff that were going to leave. Some not necessarily, but it's not that, all 7 people left for, one reason. Would you agree? And yeah, okay.
So during the recess, I asked if we could, me and Wendy can work together, maybe with a few other board members, maybe some admins, and we can have some community sessions where you guys can come in and ask questions. know that we can't answer all questions. We can't answer questions about personnel. But we'll work on setting some of those up. Feel free to email us if you want to meet with any of us, and know that we are willing to listen and that we will answer questions where we can.
And now, thanks, Jessica, because that reminded me too. The question or the concern about relationships, we take that very seriously. That's what makes all of this very hard. We last week we had our new staff in. Total was how many work here?
New staff 10.
10. And I can tell you that we've hired some great people, and I think we were pretty impressed. They're pretty excited. They're pretty energized, and we're looking forward to them being a part of the middle school and primary school. So. It is about relationships, and I do trust that these staff will do the same thing. Yeah, Diana.
One of the concerns and questions some individuals have, and I think it's a good idea to touch on since we're talking about new positions and new hires and whatnot. Can we elaborate a little bit on the like the dean of students and whatnot?
Sure. Yep. So this year, with fourth grade going back to the primary school, Mr. Sportell will have over 500 elementary kids in his building. The other buildings have 300. And so what we know, based on students last year, and also, because we've all seen more intense behaviors, but also so that Mr. Sportell can do the instructional leadership he needs to do. Also, Mrs. Smeltzer was helping a lot last year, and she's our special ed supervisor now. It would not have been fair for the entire primary school people if we didn't have another person helping. The dean is part of the position. The other part, though, is really finding resources for some of the kids who are struggling, whether they're having difficulty coming to school, whether they might need one of our mental health experts or support services. So part of Mr. Ball's job will be that whole child, approach, and also helping when we have a student who unfortunately isn't able to be successful in that classroom at that moment or on the playground at that moment. So they're going to work in tandem, but 500 students for one principal and no counselor. We have a social worker, but she's shared among the primary school and middle. So as you know, there was a great need with the school getting bigger. Okay, and of course at the middle school, we found that because we didn't yet have a certified counselor, we have one who's almost certified, which is great at the high school. We needed to, and also because the shift was changing and what we needed over there, especially with careers and et cetera, we had to hire a counselor, right? We hadn't, when Sheena was here, they wanted to take a different approach. And, as time goes by, we learned some things and we wanted to do that. That changed up that middle school office staff as well, and what we were going to be able to provide kids and what we were able to afford. Did I do that? What was the other position? Yeah, that's right. Yep. So it's about staffing, it's about numbers. There isn't a teacher out there who probably doesn't want to have their dean in their building and help them with student behavior, whether it's the primary school, the middle school, or the high school.
The coordinator, is that who?
I remember. The other question was a behavior analysis. That's actually an Eastern Service Area position where they help students who are really struggling and they help a team figure out what to do. So that person is actually shared. 5 districts. Yep. And so that's a special ed position.
Curriculum.
Yes. It's going to be very hard. As you know, right, we've had to put on hold some of our curriculum purchases. I think the last one we did was Matt for you?
Reading, which would have been 9 years ago.
Okay. So part of what comes into play, and we shared this last spring, when you see averages of the number of students who are not benchmarked, part of it is a curriculum issue, right? You've got to have the right curriculum for teachers to teach from, and then it's also, some of making sure we're teaching best practices. So we did bring a curriculum person on board for specifically that reason. every district I know, except for maybe the ones that have 400 kids, have someone who is helping teachers be guided with curriculum, looking at what's missing, what we need. We have right now some pretty big needs, but with Teresa's leadership, we've been able to add some more curriculum down at the middle school, but we have a ways to go, and we shared that with you last year. And hopefully, over time, as they pilot some curriculum, we'll be able to bring you more choices. You know, science at the high school, well, K-12, no, 5-12. We have to look at social studies. So we're providing resources, but that's another reason. So we have to have someone who's leading that charge and making those, having those conversations, looking at the new curriculum, teaching the new curriculum. Anything else about a curriculum specialist?
So I've been told in larger districts that the director of curriculum is generally assumed by like a assistant superintendent. Is that accurate?
Usually, sometimes it's the assistant superintendent. Yep.
But we're a smaller district and we don't have an assistant superintendent.
In some districts, they have an assistant soup, and then others below them, an elementary person. Yep, you got it. Yep.
Well, I just want to comment on how nice it has been to have Teresa and Amy give us those, I think they're monthly or every other month updates, so we can really see the data and track it and help our kids get to where they need to be. I think that is definitely a gap that we wanted to address, and it's given us very crucial data.
It's helping the kids catch up, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is, as you've seen that data, right? Anything else? So the process for hiring, right? They sit together, they all participate, they have staff at the table, and you know, I want to give them kudos. The hardest has been on these three right here, and with getting 2 or 3 applications.
Or 0.
Right now we are short 8.
Or 0.
Or 0. And that's, as you can see, there's a lot of competition, and they literally are not. I think I told you Western used to graduate like 3,000, and now they're graduating less than 900. So the whole state of Michigan, we're not graduating. People stop going into teaching.
They said that on the news tonight that it was common for like 100 people to apply for jobs 10 years ago, and now you get 0 sometimes. So
Yeah, it was.
it's definitely a different world.
So I did reach out to a couple close friends and family members that teach at various schools, Penfield, Harbor Creek, Portage, and Pawpaw. And it certainly seems to be a problem, a resounding problem at every school district. I heard about a high school position where they had 0 candidates, one for an English teacher where they had 2. One was fresh out of college and one was a seasoned veteran. And so that's disappointing, you know. I mean, it's just, I've always advocated that teachers are overworked and underpaid. And it seems to be a problem all over the place. But, you know, we're very fortunate here at Galesburg to have some of the most caring and invested teachers that I've ever seen. And I'm fortunate that my children have benefited from a lot of the amazing teachers that we have. But, you know, so moving forward, I hope that we are having conversations. We are looking at how to value these teachers and make sure that they are valued and feel valued, I guess. But, you know, kudos to you guys. Keep fighting the good fight and filling what holes you can. And I know this board is pretty committed to advocating for teachers, and will continue to do so.
So on that note, just since you guys are all up here too, on that note, since everybody's up here, what is our retention strategy? Like, what are we working on to keep our teachers that we still have here? You know.
Yep, it's a good question. We've done that was in the last strategic plan, and so what we're trying to do is give a little more perks. Like all I'm going to think about right this second, right on the spot. For example, we have a staff member who needs daycare, and it's a struggle, right? We've offered reductions in pay for preschool as well as daycare to try and make that easier for folks. We have offered off-schedule payments, right? A lot of people don't always understand how schools are funded. And so it may sound great that we can build something with a facility, but there's none of those funds that can ever be used for teaching and operations, right? So one of the things I know, we have received more per pupil funding. It has yet to keep up with inflation, but I just lost my train of thought. Yes. Per pupil. Oh, the other thing was that I know at the state level they're talking about a minimum teacher wage. And you know what? If Lansing could actually get that done, that would be something. Because I think part of what's happened is that teachers not only had their salary, but the benefits that went with it, the retirement system, the health insurance system, that was and having some time for family in the summer. I mean, that was a big deal. That's why people used to go into education, because it wasn't always just about the salary, because there was a retirement system for them, and so a lot of that has been stripped away. Not to be so contact legislators. That's the biggest thing we can do, and I know that as superintendents in the county, we do that. We bring them in, we talk to them. We're all sounding the same thing.
If you don't mind, can I add to that? I mean, as a county, we just we're working on our strategic planning, correct? We went through this whole process, not just to help our students, but to help our teachers, to help our parents and our community. We grew together, and I know a Ram fam, it sounds corny. I like to be corny though. And honestly, we all have growing pains. But we're looking at all of these questionnaires and answers of all these quizzes we've sent out to every single person. We had a very large meeting with teachers involved as well to, deconstruct it and set goals for ourselves. And that's something we're currently working on. And I can just tell you from what I've seen, one big thing also was behavior. And we're trying to help teachers to adjust what they're dealing with in the classroom so they can still teach by bringing in additional help. And I know it's weird to bring in those weird, different, definitely wordy, it's hard for me too, positions, but our teachers are struggling teaching people because behavior is completely different than it has ever been before. And so I'm excited to help them hopefully have more time to teach. And I think that's a huge benefit that we brought back to them, and hopefully we'll bring them more settling in the classroom so they can do what they love. Because it's stressful enough as life is, but if you can't teach because you're trying to help someone not hurt themselves, because life's hard, that's too hard. We can't do that. We're trying to help them. So I think that's a huge benefit to bring to our teachers.
I was going to bring this up later, but just a real quick, I was at MASB, which is Michigan Association of School Boards, their summer conference last weekend. And one of the classes I took, which I don't know why it was under this class, but basically what they talked about is employees are the biggest image ambassador an organization has. Our teachers are, who are in there every day, meeting with parents, or with the kids every day. But not only that, like things that were at the conference were talking about having a superintendent student advisory committee. How we do that with teachers too, like how do we work this in? So it is things that, we as a board, as a governance team with the superintendent, these are continual things that we will definitely be working on, trying to make sure, we're filling those gaps and helping students and staff.
And then the other document that you have is you had asked for, you heard maybe this person wanted to go down to kindergarten and teach, etc. So it just shows you some of the shifting that have happened in the new positions as well as new hires, so that you have a sense of that. And then just a reminder, the folks that retired last year that we also knew we had to fill. So, okay, if you have questions about that, you can let me know.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I just want to add that education's super hard, and for every one of the individuals that show up at GA community schools every single day, please keep being their champion. please keep showing them how much you love them. Please put them first. We can show them in this 23-24 school year that our GA teachers and staff matter. So please make sure that you reach out and tell them how much you love them. That's all I got to say.
Okay, next up under reports is C, the bond update.
So I've been keeping you in the loop the best I could. Sean and I have been over to the primary school, last week and then today. We've had a few hiccups with the furniture. A couple of things. Some of it hasn't arrived, or some of it came and then needed a cutout over a electrical outlet, for example. And some of it, when we're making decisions last spring with our committee, sometimes we think that size table is going to work, and then Sean and I were like today, that is definitely too short. But the good news is that we can get more, right? And so we need a couple more high tables, for example, in the steam room. But we have enough for her to get started, which is exciting. And there's still electrical that they're fixing up, Wi-Fi, so there's still a lot of people in there. However, at the end of the day, Sean and I felt like we can go forward with the ribbon cutting. The teachers are making the best of it. All 4 fourth grade teachers are in there working away. And I know Brenda Latinga, who's our STEAM, by this afternoon when she saw how we moved the furniture around the tables for her steam room, she's like, okay, I can do this. So that's the good news. The bad news is always there's some contractor that hasn't been able to make time for us. One of the things we're waiting for out at the stadium is for the turf folks to come back. I know that they were putting in a field over in Penfield, and so that will be, once that happens, we're also going to then start laying down the base for the track, and that takes 2 layers, and then somewhere down the way, not quite yet, we'll put down the actual rubber coating that the kids run around. So we're still on for October 6th, our ribbon cutting for there. We need a small committee to get together and start putting all the details, as I know lots of people have great ideas. Talking to staff this morning, we mentioned that everybody's going to be able to get in free, right, that night, because we want our Rand community to come on in. And we talked about our first track meeting. Track meet. Does anybody remember what date that was? April 10th. We need anybody and everybody for volunteers. It's been 20 years since we had a track. And so we've got to run a system and make sure that we get the right times on our 50-yard dashes or 50-meter dashes, etc. So just keep that date in mind. We're going to need a lot of help, and how exciting for our home track kids, or our track kids, to be able to have their first meet in front of their peers and their whole community. So we'll make sure that you have that date on your calendar. So they are, I can't remember anything else that I haven't already shared with you in the update. Anything that you can think of that I haven't shared?
Laura and I toured the new classrooms this morning after breakfast, and they looked wonderful. The teachers did a really good job of setting them up and getting them ready, but they are just gorgeous.
They look nice. Yep. And the area where they're going to have comfy space, right, and flexible seating is starting to come together too with furniture, and it looks amazing too. So, all right.
Okay, next up under reports is D, the school resource officer. Welcome.
Yeah, so this is Deputy Matt Murphy. Today is his official first day, and he got a big round of applause from staff this morning. And I'll have him say a few words just as a reminder. We will be sharing Deputy Murphy with Climax Scots, and this is a result of safety funding that the state of Michigan has given us, and I'm sure you know exactly why we've been getting more safety funding from the state of Michigan. And Gull Lake has a great SRO program, and so we've, the county, actually I'd like to give kudos to the county. When I first got here, and we first started talking about this, At the county level, they didn't have a way to share anybody, right? Because we felt, oh, we probably needed about a half of one, or that's what we could afford. And they couldn't do it back then. And then recently, the county worked with their association, and they were able to say, yep, if we have 2 districts, then we'll go ahead. We'll slice them in half. Not quite half. 3 days a week, 2 days a week at Climax, or some combination thereof. We'll work with them in terms of football games, basketball games, times when we think he needs to be present. He's going to be around some for open house. He can start talking to parents, kids, so that people aren't nervous as to why there's a police officer in the building. But we're very excited. We have our first training on Thursday that he'll be a part of. So, what would you like to say to the board, Deputy Murphy? Besides hi.
Well, first of all, as long as everyone can hear me, thank you for the round of applause. It's very much appreciated. Secondly, it's tough to follow that last conversation. But to the board, thank you all. It's nice to meet you, or at least see your faces. I'm sure we'll meet over time. I'm Matt Murphy. I'm 28. I'm originally from Kalamazoo, born and raised. I attended Comstock schools, and then for college, KVCC. I've been a deputy full-time here at the Sheriff's Office since December of 2016, so in December it'll be 7 years. I was assigned to the jail division for a few years, and then right about the start of COVID, I came down to the road patrol. Since that time, I'm a field training officer. I'm on the honor guard. I'm an explorer advisor. And so advice early on in my career was do something different every 5-10 years. So I'm thankful to the state police for their Office of School Safety bond proposal, and I'm happy that Galesburg and Climax both put in for it. And so I'm excited to be working in the schools, first and foremost with the students, but also with the staff and with parents as well. So thank you all.
Can I ask, so you went to training for this specifically, and what are your main goals to be able to do in this position?
Yeah, with school resource officers, so it's a nationwide program. Every school district in Kalamazoo County, aside from Schoolcraft, have a school resource officer now, which is a big improvement over 10 years ago or less. So there's a couple of goals with having a cop in the schools. Number one is everybody knows the negative image of law enforcement at this point. So one of the main goals is to try and change that perspective. We're human too. We really are just here to help people, keep everybody safe. And then that leads or transitions into the second goal, which is, of course, safety. In the very rare event that there were some kind of an incident, school shooting, what have you, hopefully, I'd be here that day and can immediately take action. But ultimately, the goal is safety, and then just helping the school with whatever law enforcement can do.
And so I think a big part of your job too, training, making sure the buildings are safe, and that's a lot of things that have been put on school districts where the professionals clearly know, all of that information and to check it all out and train people. So I think that'll be a huge help to our district.
I agree.
I think it's really nice too that you can tell his car apart from the other police officers because he has the mascot for the Rams and the Panthers on it, so you'll be able to identify it.
And I'll just say it's parked out front. Should anyone want to look at it?
Any other questions? I just want to say thank you and welcome. We are very glad you are here. This has been in process for a lot of years, so very thankful to have you here and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 7 business items for discussion. A, the monthly budget discussion.
Yes, so this is our second look at the fiscal year end, fiscal year 23. So we first took a look at budget to actual results in July, and that was before we had really closed out the year. Now we've gotten almost all the entries in there to close the year, and so it's a more complete picture of how we ended the year. I will give the caveat that these are not yet audited numbers. The audit doesn't start for another couple of weeks, so we can't say with certainty that these are going to be our final numbers until we finish that audit. But I think I'd be surprised if there were big adjustments yet to come. So we finished the year with 99%, meeting 99% of our revenue budget and 98% on the expenditure side, which meant we kind of beat the budget, if you will, by about $150,000 or so, something like that, in terms of the bottom line. There were certain areas that we were under budget, certain areas that we were slightly over in terms of function codes, and that's fairly normal. But the bottom line is what we want to focus on, and we did come in under budget on that. Happy to answer questions if there are
any. Any questions? No. Just once again, thank you, Philip. Oh, sorry, Diana.
Going to the budget, so I'm newer to the board as well, so we've been learning as we're going along. And the last couple of years are definitely different than recent because we had extra ESSER funds and whatnot, which were funds from COVID for the schools to try to stay alive, right?
Correct.
And so I believe we made shifts to make that happen because otherwise we were not looking so good to be able to end the year that way, correct?
The COVID funding, the ESSER funding was included in fiscal 23. We met that as anticipated.
Okay.
It's next year, fiscal 24, that funding is largely gone.
Okay.
That will, where we've had to make those adjustments in order to kind of live within our means.
Okay.
And so our fund balance is at around 13%. It's in that neighborhood, which is down from, 4 or 5 years ago, it was at 18%. And so, we made those adjustments so that we could live within our means for next year.
I think, Diana, you might also be wondering about, so the ESSER funds, like you said, kind of kept us going because the enrollment in the whole state of Michigan went down by about 50,000 students.
Correct.
And GA is one that hasn't bounced back. So those ESSER funds, the majority kept us employed, kept everybody where they were, despite the reduced student enrollment. And so you're right. Knowing that was gone, we went into this fall looking at where we could slim down staff without having to lay anybody off. And so we did. It was about $400,000 I think we saved, and again without anybody having to move.
Thank you, Philip. Once again, always great job getting us the numbers, having the information, so thank you. Okay, next up under 7 business items for discussion is B, the high school student handbook revisions.
So when we presented this to you at the last meeting, there was I think there was a question only about one thing, and that was about the algebra class at the middle school that counts as a high school credit, but it does not count in the total number of credits that you have to earn during your 4 years here. So I think the question was, do you still have to get 4 at the high school? That one your senior year, and the answer is yes. And so we made sure that was more clear. And then the other one, there had been a question about science, and we have an integrated science, and we wanted to make sure that we made that required. So I think those are the only 2 changes since last we met.
Okay, so the middle school, high school math credit thing, they explained that at the middle school, and I know I talked to Mrs. Weiss about it a couple years ago. I just wanted to make sure it was fixed on that end too. So,
yep,
thank
you.
It
is.
Okay, next up under 7 business items for discussion is, C, the state aid borrowing.
Correct. So this is our annual cash flow borrowing, also known as state aid note. We do this annually because cash flow would otherwise be in a deficit due to the timing of when we receive not just state aid, but our local tax receipts don't begin until January, but obviously our expenditures start day one. The other factor is fund balance. As fund balance gets smaller, the higher the amount that you would be expected to borrow in order to maintain positive cash flow. So we work with Troon Law to put together all the documentation that you have before you. We're looking to borrow $1.6 million this year. That's up from $1.5 from the year before. The process is that we go out for competitive bids with banks, and we then select the lowest net interest cost. So we don't favor local banks. We don't have a favorite bank that we do business with. We simply put out for competitive bid. We receive those bids and we pick the lowest interest cost. So that is it in a thumbnail. Happy to answer questions.
I was exposed to this last year, and I will be honest, again, school is new to me, and I will make this my long-term goal to save money eventually, if we can healthfully do this. Because $80,000 potentially in interest could be a salary, and I would love to pay someone's salary with that. So I'll just say, yes, we definitely obviously need to do this now. But my long-term goal is to say, what can we do to shave that down? And obviously getting students and everything, it comes together. But to save that money long-term would be amazing. Just a side note.
And it's another example, Diana, of how the state chooses to fund schools.
I know it's sad. I know. I will someday.
Thank you again, Philip.
Thank you.
Next up under business items for discussion is the second read of Neola 37.2 and PO 8390.
Any questions?
And basically those were just policy updates that we were given last month to review. Next up under 7 business items for discussion is the strategic plan, vision, mission, values, and beliefs, goals.
So this is the final draft. Again, these are as a result of having that very large group of parents, community members, staff, board, ad team, looking at all the data. This is a reflection then of how we ended that day with a new vision statement, mission, belief statements, values, and then our goals. This is not the right one. You have the right one, don't you?
No, that's the one that's
All right, so let me read to you 11 and 12. So as you recall, they weren't quite in that friendly language the way all the others were. So number 11 is increase opportunities for staff to be engaged in district improvement initiatives. And number 12 is implement best practices in order to build an inclusive culture and community. So that issue of diversity, inclusivity, I know that's something that was important to you as you all talked about back in May and June. And so exciting that the group picked up on that and want to use that word inclusive. So implement best practices in order to build an inclusive culture and community. So I know Nicole updated this on Friday. Apologies that we grabbed the wrong one and sent it to you. The staff saw this morning. And as you recall, the next step is adoption by the board. We will get it printed as well and share with our families. And then starting to get together. We'll talk with ad team and we'll present to you the It's a 3-year plan with 12 goals. So how many we want to do with those each year, and then which ones, and then begin putting a plan together, inviting, if it's community members that need to be there, parents, staff, students, then they'll be kind of pulled together, and we'll talk about some steps and how we're going to get there, whether it's year 1, year 2, or year 3. Any questions? All right. Ooh, thanks.
Okay, and I'm going to take a quick opportunity because I like to do this anytime I have people around. But the strategic plan is something I'm very passionate about. The strategic plan for our district, it's usually a 3 to 5 year plan, but that's where our community is involved, students are involved, staff are involved, community members, community leaders. It's truly a great way for everybody in our community, no matter what part in the community they are, to give their input on our mission statement, our vision statement, our beliefs, and then our goals. So what the school district is going to work on for the next 3 to 5 years. So, sorry, have a captive audience. And next up is 8, communications, public participation. And once again, I'll just reminder, have 3 minutes for public comment. And I didn't say this last time, but we don't usually respond here in the meeting. But if there is a question, we will contact you and give a response. So first up under public participation is...
Do you want to also mention that they can't talk about something they previously talked about?
Oh, yes, and that is true. That the first part of the meeting tonight was agenda items only. So this is a chance to talk about anything else that you wanted to speak about. So, and first up is Teresa Shepard.
Hello. I just have a quick question. I heard Jessica say that she would be happy to open up questions in email answers, and I was just wondering if that was going to then include teachers, and if so, are you going to be changing the policy, the fact that we can't email the board? I know you can answer. So I'm just asking if in the future that is changing, if based on communication.
Thank you, Teresa. Next up is Eric Curtis.
Hello again. I'm not sure where to start. I've got about 9 different notes, so I'm going to go as quickly as I can. If you guys are concerned about retention rates for teachers, contact Brian George at the middle school. He did a very comprehensive analysis of our teacher retention rates, I think for the last 3 years, and they were pretty shocking, and that was before everybody left this summer. So he has all that data, all that information. If you want to look at it, he's already broken all that down for you. Another thing you could do is request a seniority list of our teaching staff from 3 years ago and compare it to now. It's a lot different. As far as funding goes, we have a record state investment right now in public education. And talking about budget, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Talking about budget cuts. We have a record investment in public education. We've had 3 years of very strong per pupil increases in funding, and we're still talking about cutting people. It's just, I don't even understand why that's even on our radar. We do have too many non-instructional people in our district. I'll just say it. We have too many interventionists. We have too many people that are not in the classroom. It's too much. Our curriculum director makes $85,000 plus benefits. Too much. Can't afford it. We just can't. I'm sorry. Our enrollment numbers are actually pretty good. They were 955 during COVID, and right now our projected student count for this year per Wendy is 974. I'll say it again, our teacher retention is not an anomaly. I talked to every local president in Kalamazoo County. They are not experiencing what we're experiencing. Is there a teacher shortage? Yes, there is. Are they losing people that have been there for 10, 15, 20 years? They are not, because our teachers are going to their district. We had this issue about 10 years ago with a superintendent named Tim Vatz, and the board's reaction then was to circle the wagon around the superintendent. It didn't end very well. So you might want to take a different path this time, because all we're doing tonight is circling the wagon. It's not going to work.
Okay, and next up is 9 business items for decision. First up is the high school student handbook. Okay, so board, in front of you, you have a motion or a board action request. If I could have a motion to approve the high school student handbook.
I'll make a motion to approve updates to the high school student handbook as presented.
I'll support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Beauregard?
Yes.
Schuth?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Yes.
Horsey? Yes. Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next up under business items for decision is B, state aid borrowing. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the MFA state aid note resolution for the 2023-2024.
Support.
Any discussion? Philip, I just wanted to make a clarification. It does say 5% interest. It is a 0.5%, isn't it? Or is it 5?
We don't know the exact interest rate until we get the bids back. That was just an estimate.
Okay. Well, I guess that's true. It used to be really low, but interest rates aren't anymore. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Beauregard?
Yes.
Schuth?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Yes.
Horsey? Yes. Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next up under business items for decision is the approval for Neola 37.2 and okay, can I have a motion, please?
I motion to approve the second reading and adoption of Neola Policy Updates, Volume 37, Number 2.
I'll support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Beauregard?
Yes.
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Yes.
Horsey? Yes. Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. And next up under business items for decision is the 2023 through 2026 RAM plan, the strategic plan. Could I have? No. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the 23-26 strategic plan as presented for our RAM plan.
I'll support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Beauregard?
Yes.
Schuth?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Yes.
Horsey? Yes. Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next up under business items for decision is transportation contract for 2023-2024 school year. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial contract with Auxilio as presented.
I'll support.
Discussion, please. Ladies.
So as you recall, we postponed this from the last meeting because I needed Philip and he was on a vacation, so no, it's all good. So now in front of you, you have the numbers. Let's see if I can find the numbers. One of the, as you know, costs are going up everywhere, right? And so transportation is no exception. And thank you. Sorry, they're all messed up by now. What we have is a total now cost to the district of $661,336 for the school year, for the 23-24 school year. This is a 10% increase over last year. That was the number that I wanted to get to you. and it's a 33% increase from 2020 to 2021. Now, on average, they have increased less than 4% over the last 10 years, which is how long we've had the company. So while it seems like a big gasp, it really is something that's kind of catching up with the higher wages that folks are requesting, and again, different districts being able to pay more. So we're right in the game, and we will be starting the year with bus drivers. So it does so it represents about a 60,000 increase over last year. And then just as an update, as you know, we were able to purchase 3 buses, thanks to the voters who approved the bond and helped us with that. We knew that supply was going to be tough, if you recall. And so the buses that were supposed to come in November, now we understand that it could be the end of January. So I don't think anyone's surprised about that, but it is unfortunate. We probably need to lease 2 buses. I'm reaching out to the other superintendents. I think they'll all be helpful. And so we'll be looking to do that mostly to make sure we have buses for all those trips that students take, so that we have more than just for our routes. So can't wait to finally get those buses. And as you know, in our budget, we also need to get 2 more. By that, then we'll have 5, and some of these old ones can be put to rest or be used as a sub bus. So.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the numbers. That's helpful.
Roll call, please.
Overgard?
Yes.
Shute?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Horsey? Yes. Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next up is 10 communications. Board comments.
I would just like to say it was really nice to go to staff breakfast this morning, and
You have to have it right to your mouth.
it was really nice to go to staff breakfast this morning and see all the new staff and everybody interacting together, and then going through the primary building and talking to a lot of those teachers. They're very excited about the new space. That's it.
Anybody else have anything?
Can I mention 2 things? Yeah, I'm just super excited. We've been seeing updates on the field and how great it's been looking, and I know it's bittersweet thinking we're spending money in one place and not others, but we're not allowed to utilize those funds in those areas. But what I'm excited for is hopefully retaining more students, because we have options for them, which is super exciting, and maybe bringing more along. And that trickles down to help to get our numbers pre-COVID to where we used to be and keep those teachers and grow even more. So I'm excited to hopefully see us continue to flourish and keep moving forward, because that's our goal. And I'm super excited that the state was able to assist with a resource officer, and we're finally able to bring one on board and educate our students to saying he's here to help us, and he's here to be, support, and not just be like just an officer. There's so much more. So I'm just excited. I'm excited for everything we have to come.
Okay, I got a couple of things. Like I said earlier, I did go to the MASB conference, so a few things. Just want to share what classes I took or what I learned from there. The first day was all speakers that we had, and the first lady that spoke, she's really amazing, but it's part of the equity can be a triggering word. And what she likes to say is, put it with the word belong. Everybody wants to feel like they belong, and they want others to belong too. So she's like, replace that word equity and just say, everybody wants to belong. Second one was a group that spoke about data. But the overall arching theme of it was use data as a flashlight and not a weapon. So how can we shine a light on a light on the data to gain things from it, but then use it to empower and make the decisions that we're using versus using the data as a weapon. The last group that spoke, if anybody has a chance to look up Dearborn, and we can't do things to near what they're doing. They have over 20,000 students in Dearborn, but they had 3 of their students there and their superintendent, and they have a superintendent student advisory council. And basically it's about hearing from the students, giving the students a voice. How can the students get their voice and their thoughts to, whether it's a principal or a superintendent, just, the things that are going on in the district, but, who are the ones most likely in the district not to have a voice? And a lot of times that is our students. So that was the first day. And then, the second day was more of community relations, taking a couple classes. But one thing probably a lot of you have done, but part of the class was we did a DISC survey kind of ourselves. You answer a bunch of questions and then it gives information about you. And the reason it's so important, because yes, everything that came out of it was totally me, which is what you expect, but it's seeing it there in writing. But as a board, the team we work with, we all are different, and it gives you ideas of how to work with somebody who, has different thoughts, or, one is, a D, and they're more, they can make a decision quickly. I cannot. I guess that's one of the ways that it's said. I need more input, I need more information, where they can take the information they have and make a decision. One person may like numbers more, or it just gives some kind of ideas, so that was neat to do. And I think that's pretty much it, but just to always remind everybody, there are these classes that are offered out there for us to continually learn and grow. So just to share kind of some of the things that are there. Yep, Lori's all signed up for the next one. That was it. Does anybody else have anything?
Can I make one more awkward comment? Because I'm good at that. Even though this is extremely stressful for everyone in this room, I appreciate everybody here. Regardless of your reason of being here, we're all here, again, for who's the number one reason we're here for is our students. Regardless of if we all butt heads or not butt heads, I appreciate every single person here that you guys care, and that you care enough to sit through a whole board meeting to share that. So thank you, because we all care. It's just a matter of getting everything where we need to get it. So thank you guys.
And one quick thing before I hand it over to Wendy for superintendent update. Just welcome back staff next week. Welcome back students coming out to the open houses, the ribbon cutting. So just the start of a new year.
I want to add to the bond update. It's a little different than the progress, but this morning we shared with staff the number of dollars that have been donated to the district to make some things happen. So as you know, because of the high inflation, there were some things that we just couldn't do, and we've had some people step up. So I'll try to list them all. We've had a community member donate the American flag, the pole, etc. Several of these people want to remain anonymous. We recently had someone donate $5,000 who's also going to get a match, and that will pay for the play clocks, which we weren't anticipating being able to have at all. We have sold, oh boy. All right, Sean, do you remember how many bricks? 170 something bricks, I think, already. It's gonna be marvelous, right? And more actually have. Hopefully we're going to get them soon, but they will definitely be in the ground before the first game. We have also had a donation recently. as you know, there's a part of our hope is that we're honoring Coach Maskell's legacy, and the family has been working on a bust. It is with him. The team is holding him up during one of 19 championships, and we recently had a donor come forward, and they want to pay for the whole thing.
Oh.
So, I know. And then we have at least 2 benches already donated, the cost for which, and our last thing are trees, as we were not able to do much landscaping because of the cost, etc. So I just want to do a kudos shout out. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody, but we have a very generous community. And they're very excited. So thank you so much. Yeah.
And a bust is like a beautiful sculpture, correct?
Yeah, it's not the whole body. It's
Correct.
just, exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
some people may not know, so I
Yeah.
want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I didn't know before
All right.
that, so I think it's good to know. So it's really exciting.
It's gonna be nice. Yeah, it's gonna be really nice.
Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And I'm gonna give us till 8. Do you guys want 8:15 or 8:20?
8:15.